First of all, the name of the person who wrote this question is not in here. It is anonymous, You're saying that donated food are taken to the food bank at the end of the day. Actually, we are donating not just of the leftover food. If you count our records, I think over the years we have donated tons and tons of vegetables, potatoes, corn in our field. We grow these vegetables. And for those who haven't finished, we donated them to the food bank. So don't worry about it. We already cover that worry that have you in mind. Throw away that worry that you have. We already have done it. Now that's for the raw food, including all the fruits, apples and oranges and all those we donated to the food bank. And every time when they came to pick food from us, they have to give us a record. So maybe we'll have 120 tons, I don't know, 300 tons already over the years. So don't worry about it. That's for the raw food or the food bank. Then how about the cooked food? You're left behind the food you have. First of all, you should not have any left behind. Don't waste any food, because we are passing, the server is passing around and giving you food. If you don't want it, you say pass. If you cannot eat it up, you don't put it on your plate, because you pass it to the next person. If you are so gluttonous as to, you want to hoard everything, I want to get everything, your habit, most people's habit is, if they can't finish, you just throw it away. In a restaurant, when you go into a restaurant, you just watch your neighboring table. You know how many people left those food behind? That's a no-no to Buddhist follower, the Buddhist teaching. Eat as much as you can. You don't throw any food away. All right, now that must be a habit that you should build up. Don't waste any food. The second, on a practicality basis, answering that question. What happens if people here who are not that intelligent and they don't really care and they have left behind? What do we do with the food? There are people like that. When we are eating, why do we say our prayers? When we're eating, we consider every grain of rice, how it is grown, how much labor is put into that, how much labor the cooks put into it, how much labor is spent in going to the market to shop for them. We consider all the efforts by all these volunteers, all these people who put this meal together for us. And we also consider those people who donate the money to support this attempt. They're conscientious people who couldn't spend their efforts in preparing for the meal. They donate to make this come true. But there are also people who come to eat every day without giving anything. They just received. But it's more meritorious to give, not just money, to give your efforts, to give your conscientiousness, to give your compassion out. Not just in the temple, in your family. Don't just say how much dad and mom can do for you, your elder brother can do for you. How much you can do for your mom and dad. How much you can do for your brothers and sisters. How much housekeeping work you have done for your family. Don't expect your mom to make everything clean. Don't expect your mom to do your bedding for you. Did you do her bedding? Come to think of others too. Don't think just of yourself. That's what we call ego. I don't want to continue talking about this, otherwise you won't come next time. Because you don't need to listen to a lesson. You just need encouragement and a good meal. That's all. All right, next question. Do we have a predetermined destiny? Yes and no. Or yes or no. Yes, you have a predetermined destiny, because whatever you have done, all the causes that you have germinated, you have sown, would bring effects to you now in this life. Your destiny is determined by cause and effect. And cause and effect is not determined by God. Cause and effect is determined by you. How? Let me give you an example. Say you took a course for 3 months, for example, Accounting 100. You took that course, you buy the book, then you sow that seed to get that credit. But after that, you don't attend any lectures. You don't care about it. You don't study for it. So you've just made an initial cost of registering for it. You don't sow enough courses to make you to have successfully completion of this course. Do you think you will succeed in examination? You germinate, you sow your own cause to that effect. You are the mastermind of your own destiny. You want to have a successful destiny? You want your destiny to be glorious? Or you want your destiny needs to be so gloomy and brutal and terrible? All in your hands. But however, for all those causes that you have done in the past, you can change those causes. Then you will suffer from those. That's what we call destiny, because of what you have done. Because of you cannot redo what you have done, can you? Then you have to suffer from the effects so realized in this life. But you have freedom to do new causes, to change them, sow new seeds. All these bad seeds were already bad enough. Bad plants will come out in your field of consciousness because you have sowed all these bad seeds. But you have a choice. You have a freedom. You have a determination to sow good seeds starting from today. Can you sow all kinds of good seeds in your field of consciousness? I can guarantee you, you will reap good causes, good fruits. No question about it. So finally, I would say, yes, you have sowed your bad seeds, then you suffer from a bad destiny. No, it's not a destiny, because you can change it. Every life is like a script. So as I always said, you don't have to look for a movie. You don't have to go and pay to enjoy a movie. Look at your own life. Your life is a life script that you have written. If you have sowed bad seeds in your script, change it now. Change your script. Change yourself as an actor. Change yourself as a director. Be a good director, be a good actor, and be a good audience. You enjoyed it. You don't have to go to one movie. Change it yourself. That's the new day. A new life. A new day. There's a song like that. Have you ever listened to that song? A new life, a new day? By Kupo Bay. How come this monk is always talking about songs? That's to make my lecture interesting. If I don't know anything about all these, then how can I make it interesting? All right, that's the question. Because of another world, religion and several of its members that commit very unwholesome acts, it is hard not to discriminate. How can one keep good thoughts about the people who follow this religion? So you're talking about in some religions, some people, when they look at violence, they want to combat violence by their violence. They believe in using force to overcome force. You can't use force to overcome force. You can only use compassion to overcome hatred. You cannot use hatred to overcome hatred. You have to use non-hatred to overcome hatred. Next question. Tell us if there are any ways of seeing through the illusion of this world. You don't have to find ways of seeing illusions. Have you seen yourself? What is illusion? One day you are kind, another day you are deluded. You have disappointment, you have jealousy, you have hatred, you have anger, you have revengeful feelings. All this is illusions. Don't have to see other people's illusions. It's easy to find other people's faults. Find your own faults. See your own scripture. You can write your own scripture. Examine your own personality first. Don't look for faults of others. Don't tell your wife or your husband to change. Change yourself first. You want your husband to be tender loving. You want your husband to be good. You want your husband to be rich. Whereas you're not tender loving. You do every way in such a way that you are so miserably poor. But change yourself first. Don't require others to change to tailor to your own needs. You volunteer your own change. If you are always angry, how can you expect your brother to be kind? Is it possible to change? It's possible to change. Is it possible to change a liar consciousness? You cannot change whatever you have sown. You sow that seeds already, those seeds already in the field, you cannot change it. You have to suffer from it. But then you can sow new seeds. And if you understand, the way you suffer is not the same way as when you have misunderstanding and suffering it. Because when you suffer from your past deeds, if you have enough wisdom, that's not suffering anymore. You accept it. We call it acceptance. We call it forgiveness. You forgive. You don't suffer, you forgive. Next, is there different stages of awakening? Yes, there is different stages of awakening. How can I improve my eyesight? Am I an eye doctor? I think you should ask that question to an eye doctor. What does having poor eyesight mean? Let me tell you, there's a story in the Buddhist teaching. There is an arahat called Anuruddha, Anuruddha. And when he was a young monk, he studied so studiously that he went blind. He couldn't see anymore. He studied day and night, reading all the time, he went blind. And then the Buddha taught him a very special way. And he said, cultivate your divine eye in your meditation. So he started to use meditation to cultivate not of the human eye, a divine eyes. Divine eyes, divinity eyes can see through to galaxies. When you have divine eyes, you still have the physical eyes that are blind, but if you get into your meditation in the trance, then you function your supernatural power. You can see galaxies away. You can see through walls. You can see through the body of a person. You can see his organs. That's the divine eyes in your meditation. So why don't you cultivate your meditation? You lost your camera, or you lost your eyes, but you didn't see your functionality of seeing, because you can see through without eyes, in the divinity eyes. Some people have eyes, but they don't see properly. Do you still remember that article that I always mention to people who are talking about eyesight and ears? And I always use that article. You can Google it. It's called "Give Me 3 Days to See" by Helen Keller. Have you ever heard of Helen Keller? The person, the lady who was blind, who was deaf, who was mute. She couldn't speak, she couldn't listen, she couldn't talk. When you lost the senses of seeing, listening, and talking, what's the worth of living again? But this lady, Helen Keller, went through this difficult period and became one of the best philosophers in North America, a writer, a prolific writer. She trained herself. In the beginning of the article, she said, I always wanted my eyes to see nature. I always want my nose to smell the fragrance of roses and on azalea and rhododendrons. I always wanted to talk about it, but I couldn't. So sometimes I ask in writing and ask my friends who's just been back from the wood, enjoying a nature trail, I ask them, so-and-so, what did you see during your walk in nature trail in the woods? And most people answer is, no, nothing in particular. And she said, how could you have walked through the wood for a few hours and you didn't see anything in particular? I always want to feel the velvetry of the rose petals. I always want to listen to the chirping, the joyful chirping of the birds. I always want to see the stream flowing down, a clear crystal of water. I want to have those experiences. I so value this. And how come anybody traveling from a nature trail in the woods, coming back and told me he has seen nothing in particular? Have he been using his eyes? Have he been using his ears? Have he been using his senses? Which I didn't have any.